And the man working the booth looked at me and said, well, now you've made a mistake. And I was like, what is that? And he said, you touched it. And I was like, you're very right. Hi friends, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Kristen and I am a knitter living in Denver, Colorado with my family, and DoSoKnits is my channel where I share with you guys how knitting has interwoven into my life. Today's video is my April stash in and stash out video. In these videos, I like to share with you guys what projects I finished in the previous month and count how many skeins out that was from my stash. And then I like to share the yarns that I brought in. So it's basically a nice little haul video, but it's a lot of fun to show off the yarns. And then if you're not interested in haul videos, then you can come back for another podcast episode. I can tell this video is probably going to be a bit rambly. I am, one, sitting on the ground in front of my little yarn cubicle because I couldn't be bothered to set up my tripod. So you are precariously stacked on a stack of books, but it's fine. And we're just a little tired today, but we have our coffee. And I'm really excited to talk to you guys today about the new yarns that I have. If you are a new subscriber, thank you so much for hopping on this journey with me. I am blown away by the response I've gotten. So thank you guys so much for subscribing and just being a part of this little knitting journey with me. I just like to talk and share with you guys, and I love you all. So let's dive into my April stash in and stash out. So I'm wearing today, I'll talk about this first. This is my Chalet Day sweater by Samantha Gurin. This is a worsted weight sweater using a main color and then one contrast color for the color work. It has turned a bit cold this week in Colorado. Right now it's currently rainy and overcast, which never happens. So I'm embracing the fact that I can pull out some of my sweaters for Me Made May, but that's great. Okay, so stash out for the month of April. I have my handy dandy expo board here that I always have. This has been a game changer in my stash in and out. It's just made me a lot more accountable to have this out in the open and easy to see. So for the month of April, I finished a good amount of things. I finished my secret garden test knit socks, which I shared in my last podcast episode. So that used one sock set, which I'm counting as one skeining yarn out. I also finished my Desert Vista Direct socks for April, so that was another one skein out from my stash. And I'll share more about those in the next podcast episode because you haven't seen those finished yet. So I finished two different Scrappy projects this month, but those don't count toward my stash out because I typically don't count scraps or minis toward my total stash number because I feel like that would just feel ridiculous. So I finished my Scrappy granny square blanket that I was knitting for Shane's mom. For this blanket, I was using Nora George Harry Potter Blanket Club Minis, which is a club I was a part of in 2020. Each square used about 7 grams of fingering weight mini to make each granny square. The blanket ended up being a 7x7 blanket, a nice lap size throw. I think it was about 45 inches both ways. And yeah, I was able to finish that while his family was visiting, and I was able to send that home with them. So that was really nice. They really loved it. And that project from 2021 has officially been counted and checkmarked off. So yeah, that's very exciting. I think as of now, the only projects that I have left that I've carried over from 2021 is my Musselboro hat, which is emergency car knitting, so it just stays in the car in case anything happens. In case we get stuck somewhere and I don't have knitting, it literally just lives in the car because it's just nice stockinette in the round. Emergency car knitting. And then the only other one is my Scrappy Memories blanket, my Cozy Memories blanket, which is also using scraps. And that one I don't have an end date on, so it's fine that it's still there, but everything else I have finished. Yay! That's so exciting. The other Scrappy project that I finished is I made a pair of Scrappy DK socks using the minute, tiny, like 3-gram pieces that were left over from the Granny Square blanket. So I will talk about those more in my next podcast episode, but it was just, I held 2 strands together and just marled them and made a pair of DK socks. And so that one, since it was scraps, also doesn't count for stash out. So knitting wise, skein wise, I got out 2 skeins of stash, but I did finish 4 different projects this month. I also did destash some yarn. I have all the yarns that I'm destashing on my will sell or trade page of my stash on Ravelry. It's linked down below if you are interested. So I did destash 11 skeins of yarn this past month and got out 13 skeins total, which is a good number. Now for the fun part. So this month was, I think, a decent and fun month for some stash acquisitions. I went to the Interweave Yarn Festival, which was up in Loveland, Colorado. For me, it was about an hour drive. Went up there and just went and saw some of the vendors, had a lot of fun, and definitely kicked off a little bit of a buying spree, which is fun. It was a lot of fun. One of the viewers, Natalie, and her friend were there and they came up and said hi, which was so much fun. Thank you so much. And we went into a knit night this past month as well, which was really fun. But I'm excited to show you guys what I got from that. It was definitely a lot of fun. The Interweave Yarn Fest had a lot of vendors. It was just a good time. There were so many different things to look at. It was definitely a little overwhelming for me. I haven't really been to a yarn festival since I became a capital K knitter, so I was honestly a little overwhelmed with the whole thing. And it was nice to chat with people that like understand fiber crafts, and to meet new friends was just such a bow on top. The first yarn I ended up getting from there was from Allie Pate of Road Trip Sock Yarn. We actually carry some of her yarn at Fancy Tiger Crafts where I work, so I was excited to see some of the different offerings she has versus what we carry. So I got a skein of her DK yarn, and this is her Herd of Cats line. So for these yarns, she actually works with local shelters and finds cats that are in need of adoption and dyes yarn to correspond with like their coloring, which is so cool. So this is a DK weight. It's superwash merino and nylon, 225 meters for the 100 grams. And I figured I could make a really fun little hat out of this. And Allie Pate, this is what this is called, all the different cats, and has some more information. It's for the Denver Dumb Friends League. So a portion of every skein sold goes to help these cats get adopted, which I just absolutely loved. So that is that. So that's the first thing I got from there. The second thing I got is I saw that Leading Men Fiber Arts were there, and I've always heard good things about them, been very intrigued about their yarn. They are both so lovely to talk to. They even said like any color that isn't, like if there's a color you like but it's not on the base you want, they will dye it for you, which is very, very sweet and amazing. But I did fall in love with the color pretty quickly. I fell in love with the base and then a color. I love a good BFL base. And they had a sample of this base, which is their Spotlight base. They had a sample knit up in this. They had a Tenya, which is a fingering weight, like short sleeve top with lace detail at the bottom, knit up in a different color of this. And I was like, I love that sweater. I've been wanting to make that sweater. I should make that sweater. And then I saw this color. So this color is Marauder. So they were actually featured in the Harry Potter knitting book. And they asked Leading Man Fiber to dye a really dark red for that book. And this was the color they came up with. And I just really love this jewel toned red that will just work really well in my wardrobe, and as a Tenya I think it's going to be amazing. So this base that I fell in love with is an 80% BFL and 20% nylon, which is amazing. It's a superwash BFL and nylon. I love the high twist, and all the BFL that I've used I've loved, and so I couldn't walk away without this. And like I said, they were so sweet and really nice to talk to, and had so many different options. It was very honestly a hard time choosing, which is why I went in kind of with blinders of like, this is the sweater I will make and it's great, and I will definitely go back to their shop. I've actually been on their website to look at all the different colors that they have. There's so many, and so many great bases. So definitely, I think I was very happy to see them there. And then finally, what kicked off the buying spree but ended up being the last thing I bought is this is from Eugene. This is from Eugene Textile Center. They are in Oregon. Eugene, Oregon. They had a ton of materials for weaving, for spinning, lots of different rovings, yarns. They were the only ones there with knitting needles. But I found this yarn, and this is the one. I walked by the booth and I touched it. And the man working the booth looked at me and said, well, now you've made a mistake. And I was like, what is that? And he said, you touched it. And I was like, you're very right. This yarn is amazing. So I ended up getting 2 skeins of this. And it is literally the softest thing that I have ever touched in my life. Once I touched it, I couldn't stop. You start and you can't stop. It's that good. So this is Peruvian Tweed. It is 8 ounces of alpaca yarn. This one is 595 yards. It is this beautiful marl, all alpaca. And I got to because I just want a really cozy shawl around my neck. Basically this. And I did like a quick search of DK weight shawls. There's the Boneyard Shawl from Stephen West, and it needed a little more than 600, so, or maybe 700. I just know I needed slightly more than 1 if I wanted like a nice big shawl, which is what I'm envisioning. And then if there's any left over, I know I will find something for this yarn because it is that soft and amazing. I wish you could just reach your hand through the camera to touch this. I was just say like close your eyes and just like imagine your favorite teddy bear multiplied softness by 10. It's so good. So I had to get these 2 skeins and they're amazing. Also, the last thing I got from the Interweave Yarn Fest is I got these stitch markers from Yank Your Yarn. These are just some square middle stitch markers. I've been wanting to try some different shapes, and these ones they mentioned are really nice because if you ever have stitch markers and if you're doing like lace or yarn overs, your stitch marker can slide under the yarn over, but with ones where there's corners, hexagons, triangles, squares, if you have a yarn over beside your stitch marker, the stitch marker won't slide under it, which I thought was very interesting and definitely very beneficial. So they're also on Instagram. It is Yank Your Yarn or they are on Instagram, and I know they sell on Etsy as well. So yes, I got those as well. And I did get a little tiny stitch marker here as a little gift. So this might end up in my giveaway box for our spring make-along, so that you guys can try them as well. And then you may know that local yarn store day happened on the last day of the month, and I may have gone a little crazy. The thing is some of the stuff that I went crazy about has to be mailed, so it's not technically here, so it doesn't count for the April stashing out, but you'll see them very soon. But I did buy some more of Allie Pate's yarn from Road Trip Sock Yarn. She was doing a little pop-up at our store, Fancy Tiger Crafts, and yeah, I knew I wanted to buy like a speckled sock yarn because I walked away from Interweave with no speckled sock yarns for some reason. Somehow I managed that. So I knew I needed to remedy that situation. So I ended up buying this yarn from our store, Fancy Tiger. This is the skein that we dyed for local yarn store day. It is on a merino, superwash merino and biodegradable nylon base, and it's so soft. And I am definitely checking off my speckled sock craving. But then also from Allie's pop-up, I bought a couple more skeins of yarn. So this is the color Fletcher Village East. It is a 75% superwash merino and 25% nylon. I think Fletcher is the base and Village East is the color. Or Fletcher might be her base color, but it's just like a really fun orange and green, pretty skein of yarn. I saw it and was like, yes, Wood Nymph Kristen loves this, needs a pair of socks out of this. And then I saw this. So Allie had these little shawl sets of Herd of Cats, where it's 2 100-gram skeins and 1 50-gram skein, and I just fell in love. I just kept coming back to this because the pop-up was set up in the back of the shop, and I would just walk back and forth doing normal daily tasks, and I just kept looking at it and I knew I had to have it. So it's like a nice little shawl set, and I found the perfect pattern for it. I found this pattern called Up All Night. It's a shawl that uses 200-gram skeins and a 50-gram skein. So I'll have like 2 sections, the 2 main sections, and then the pops of yellow throughout. I can just see this being a nice, really go-to shawl in my wardrobe, and very excited about this. So this one is a different base, so 85% superwash merino and 15% nylon. So a bit plumpier. Very excited about these. And yeah, I did end up buying some more yarn from a couple different indie dyers online, but those will be in the May stash. So, the last thing I got this month was my Yarnable box for April. I keep wanting to say May. So in here, we got some fun goodies this month. So we have a really fun box. We got this cute little keychain. Sassy since birth, salty by choice. Cute little mermaid binder clips. And a soothing bath salt lavender scent. Oh, lemongrass scent, even better. I love lemongrass. I haven't even opened this to smell it. I really got this box and set it aside so I would not play with any of the toys until I showed you guys. Oh, but yes, that smells so, so good. I love a good bath salt. And then our color for the month is called Mermazing. It's brought to us by Mermaid Scales, Seafoam, and Salty Air. And this just looks so much fun. This is the yarn. So I got this on the Plush sock base, which is an 85% superwash merino and nylon. And I feel like these just scream summertime. And with summer sock camp coming up soon, which I'm definitely participating in with that Kay is hosting from Crazy Sock Lady, I have so many sock yarns to get through. But yes. But that's all the yarn I brought in. I feel like I've done better about not bringing in so much that these videos are super long. They're a bit more manageable. I feel manageable about what I'm bringing in, that it keeps me feeling excited. So this month I brought in 12 skeins of yarn, which is not bad. So this month I got out 13, brought in 12, so I'm at a -1, which for the year puts me at plus 14. So we're still a little over for the year so far, but I do have some big projects on the needles that are real close to being finished. So I have my stratified, which will be about 5 skeins, and my birds of a feather, which will be 5 or 6, depending on if I need to break into that last skein of mohair. I'm very excited. I hope you guys had a good April as well. Let me know what you're working on. Did you go to any fun yarn festivals? I know there were so many. I know there was one in Connecticut. There was one up in Canada. We had the Interweave Yarn Fest here. There was local yarn store day. Let me know if you got any fun goodies this past month. I think local yarn store day and all these festivals are really just inspiring me. And I really can't wait to share with you guys what I have in store for next month and some of the fun projects that I'm working on. So if you like the video, please make sure to give it a thumbs up, and if you're not subscribed, please do. It's just a free way to support the channel and to make sure you don't miss any of the videos that I post. But as always, thank you so much for clicking. Thank you for joining. I hope you're putting a little bit of love into every stitch of your knitting or crochet, and I'll see you guys again very soon. So today's video is my May stash in and stash out video. It's May now. So today I am going to say May probably so many times instead of April.